Have you ever known something before you knew why? You walk into a room and something feels wrong. You can't point to it. Nothing is visibly out of place, but you feel it immediately, completely, and correctly. You meet someone for the first time, and before they've said anything meaningful, you already don't trust them. Your phone is face down on the table, silent, and you reach for it 30 seconds before it rings. This happens to everyone. It has happened to you. The relationship you stayed in for 2 years knowing, on some level, from week 3, that it wasn't right. The job offer that looked perfect on paper but felt wrong the moment you walked in for the interview. The split-second decision that kept you out of trouble you didn't even know was coming. Something in you already knew. You just couldn't explain it. Here's what most people think this is. Instinct. Sixth sense. A feeling. Something you were born with. Or something you can't explain. Or something that doesn't really count because you can't prove it. Here's what it actually is. It's computation. It's your brain running calculations faster than language can follow, on data you didn't know you had, and handing you the answer without showing its work. The mystery is not mystical, it has a mechanism. Think of someone you instantly didn't trust the first time you met them. Before they said anything wrong. Before they did anything wrong, something was just off. Now ask yourself, what did you actually see? Researchers studying this found that the brain picks up on dozens of signals simultaneously. Micro-expressions lasting less than 1/5 of a second, tiny asymmetries in posture, timing delays between speech and emotion, the direction someone looks when they answer, the specific muscles around the eyes. None of these registered consciously. All of them registered. Your brain is processing 11 million pieces of information every second. You are consciously aware of roughly 40 out of 11 million. The rest is not ignored. It is processed, filtered, evaluated, and acted on. Just not reported to the part of you that thinks it's in charge. Intuition is not a different system. It's the same system, running on everything you didn't notice noticing. But here's what makes it strange. The brain doesn't just keep this to itself, it sends you a message. Just not in words. It sends it through your body. A tightening in the chest. A pull in the stomach. An inexplicable urge to take a different route. A sudden flat feeling about something that should excite you. The body is the notification. You feel the conclusion before you understand it, or you... In the 1990s, neuroscientist Antonio Damasio gave this a name: somatic markers. Somatic, from the body. Markers, signals. His research showed that the brain tags experiences with bodily states. When a situation resembles something your nervous system has learned is dangerous or promising, the body responds first. Before the conscious mind has time to deliberate, the body is already voting. Damasio's patients who lost the connection between emotion and decision-making couldn't make simple choices. They had all the information. They had no guidance. Without the body's vote, the conscious mind was lost. Damasio tested this directly. He created a card game, 4 decks. Some were rigged to win in the long run. Some were rigged to lose. Subjects had to figure out which was which. On average, conscious understanding arrived around card 50, but their hands started sweating. A measurable stress response when reaching for the bad decks around card 10. The body knew 40 cards before the mind did. The body is not behind your thinking. It is ahead of it. Psychologist John Gottman has spent decades studying couples. He can watch a couple talk for 15 minutes and predict with over 90% accuracy whether they will divorce within the next few years. Not because he has special powers, because he knows what to look for: contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling, criticism, patterns so small and fast that the couples themselves can't see them. But their nervous systems can. Couples who just knew it wasn't working years before the relationship ended, they weren't being dramatic. They were reading the data. Gary Klein spent years studying firefighters. He wanted to know how they make decisions in burning buildings. Fast, accurate decisions under extreme pressure, with no time to think. What he found surprised him. They weren't comparing options. They weren't running calculations. They walked into a room and they just knew what to do. Because they had seen hundreds of fires. And their pattern library, built from years of experience, was telling them, this feels like that. This situation matches this outcome. Act now. Their intuition wasn't a guess. It was experience, compressed into a feeling. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman calls this System 1. System 1 is fast, automatic, effortless. It runs constantly, processes everything, and produces answers without asking permission. System 2 is slow, deliberate, effortful. It's what you use when you're doing math or reading a contract or choosing which apartment to rent. Most of the time, System 1 is correct. Most of the time, you're already operating on conclusions System 1 handed you before you realized you'd made a decision. The feeling of deliberating is often just System 2 catching up to System 1's answer and deciding whether to override it. Think about a time you knew a phone was going to ring. Not predicted. Knew. Here's what almost certainly happened. You had established a pattern. The way this person calls at certain times, after certain kinds of conversations, when certain things are unresolved. You had been in a low-level state of expectation without naming it. Your nervous system was tracking the pattern while you were thinking about something else. And then the notification arrived not as a thought, but as a reaching hand. You didn't predict the call. Your pattern library called it. But here's where this gets complicated. Because the same system that reads a room correctly can also be completely, catastrophically wrong. The same vast pattern-matching brain that spots a genuine threat can also flag a harmless person as threatening because of how they look, or project a familiar pattern onto a new situation because the surface resembles something from the past. Your ex was like this, so this new person must be too. Intuition is not a truth detector, it's a pattern detector. And patterns can be wrong. This is why the hardest skill isn't learning to listen to your gut. It's learning to tell the difference between intuition and fear. They feel almost identical. Both arrive as a body sensation. Both arrive before you can explain them. Both feel urgent. But one is reading the present, the other is replaying the past. Intuition says, this situation has specific features that match a pattern I've learned. Fear says, this reminds me of something that hurt me, and I need to protect myself. Same channel, different source. So how do you tell them apart? Intuition tends to be specific. It has texture. It points at something. Fear tends to be global. It floods. It doesn't point. It just says no. Intuition often arrives calmly, even when the news is bad. A quiet certainty. Fear arrives with urgency and noise, and the feeling that you need to run from the room, and the conversation, and the decision itself. Neither is infallible, but learning to notice which one is speaking is one of the most useful skills you can develop. Here's the version of this most people recognize. The relationship. Not the dramatic ending. The quiet beginning. Week 3, maybe week 1. Something was already there. Not a feeling you could name, not a fight you could point to, just a very faint, very persistent, low-level awareness that something important was missing or something important was wrong. And you spent 2 years finding out you were right. That wasn't bad luck. That was your brain reading data you hadn't consciously registered yet, and filing a report you didn't know how to read. So what do you do with this? You can't turn intuition on, but you can feed it. Intuition is proportional to experience. The richer your pattern library, the more situations you've moved through, paid attention to, reflected on, the faster and more accurately your unconscious can match the present to the past. The firefighter's intuition works because they've been in hundreds of fires. Gottman's intuition works because he's studied thousands of couples. Your intuition about the people you know best is almost always right. Your intuition about situations you've never encountered is often just anxiety. Your gut has never read a psychology textbook, but it has been taking notes your whole life. Every moment you paid attention, every room you walked into, every person you watched, every outcome you noticed, was filed somewhere you can't access consciously. And when the moment comes, your brain doesn't ask you to remember. It just tells you what it already knows. This is not a story about magic. It's a story about how much your brain has been doing without telling you. Every experience you've lived through, every person you've understood, every mistake you made and noticed, every pattern you lived long enough to recognize is active. Right now. Running beneath everything you consciously think. The part of you that knows before you know is not separate from you. It is the part of you that has been paying the closest attention. Think about the room you walked into, the person you didn't trust, the phone you reached for. You weren't imagining it. You weren't being irrational. You were receiving a report from the most experienced part of your mind, the part that has seen everything you've seen, learned everything you've learned, and never once forgot any of it. It just doesn't speak in sentences. So the next time you know something without knowing why, don't dismiss it because you can't explain it. Ask instead, what has my brain been watching that I haven't? What pattern is it matching right now? What experience from the past is it holding up to this moment? You may not get a clear answer, but the question will keep you paying attention to the right thing. And maybe that's the whole point. Not to follow your gut blindly. Not to ignore it because you can't verify it. But to stay in relationship with the part of you that has been paying attention since long before you knew what attention was. Your brain knew before you did. The question was never whether to trust it. The question is learning how to listen.